It's no secret that I love the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo in general. I mean, but even us hardcore Nintendo lovers still have some hot takes. But I thought instead of being sat here and listening to my hot takes, instead I asked you all to submit your own hot takes in my Discord, and today we're gonna go through them. But to start off this video, I thought I would do a hot take of my own. Mario games are overrated. Whilst Mario Odyssey was good, I have no idea how people can level it up to the likes of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I feel like they're nowhere near comparable, yet people are telling me that Mario Odyssey is one of the best games on the Switch. It was fun, but also I played it for so little time. I much preferred Kirby over Mario Odyssey. If you were to ask me what my favorite Mario game is, it's the ones that don't center around Mario. Mario Party and Mario Kart are my favorite Mario games, and I'd take them over Mario Odyssey any day. I think that game is overrated. My other hot take is that review scores really don't matter. I feel like most of the games that have had a big impact on me and myself and my life score around the 7 out of 10 mark. And I feel like that's especially common for us cozy gamers. The games we hold dear to our hearts are not the games rated 10 out of 10. All right, let's get into your hot takes. And I feel like the first one is great considering the release of Pokemon has happened in the last month. Nintendo needs to stop releasing games that aren't finished. I'm gonna have to agree, and also I think this expands further than just Pokemon. Like, yes, Pokemon should not have released in the state in which it released in. It's buggy, there's a lot of performance issues, all of which should have been ironed out before releasing on the Switch. But that's not the only game. Nintendo in the last year or so has picked up this habit of releasing games with the promise on day one of future updates. I think a few good examples of this is Switch Sports, Mario Strikers, and the first Mario Party on the Switch. The first Mario Party launched without any online capabilities, and you couldn't even play the board game with friends. Then you had Switch Sports that literally day one of release announced that there was going to be a new mode coming, which basically means they were admitting that there wasn't enough content on the game to warrant your £50. And the volleyball got an update like 6 months later, actually adding new movements in to make the game a little bit more interesting. And Mario Strikers was just a mess. Considering all you could play was online modes, it didn't have that many stadiums, and there was barely any characters you could play as. Which is honestly unforgivable, and why I think it's one of the worst games Nintendo have put out this year. I was gonna say arguably worse than Pokemon, but no, I think it is objectively worse than Pokemon. The next hot take: more games from the Wii, DS, and 3DS need to be ported over. People are seriously missing out on some of the best cozy games. Not even cozy games. There are so many games I would happily replay on the Switch. Wii Sports, I would play in a heartbeat. I still sometimes get the Wii out for Christmas because even Nintendo Switch Sports is just not the same as the OG Wii Switch Sports. But the thing I don't understand is why they decided to do it so differently on the Switch from the Wii U. The Wii U was not only backwards compatible, allowing you to play both Wii games and Wii U games, it also had the Virtual Console, giving you a huge library of games you could play from previous consoles. I would give anything to be able to play some of the old Pokemon games on the Nintendo Switch, and even the likes of Tamagotchi Life. I only recently learned about the existence of that game this year, and I would give anything to be able to actually play that game and get to experience all the wonderful things I've heard about it. Not only that, but also old games just aren't accessible. It's now really difficult and expensive to buy a 3DS, let alone all the other consoles and stuff that came before it. And if you think buying Nintendo Switch games now is expensive, the price for older games only seems to go up. I would love to see retro gaming become more accessible, and Nintendo really needs to bring back some way of playing older games. The next one is just that we need a more powerful Switch. I'm 50-50 on this. I would definitely love to see something more powerful. A Switch 2, Switch Pro, whatever, that would run all the indie games I'm playing right now closer to how the Steam Deck runs them. It does look like a lot of developers are struggling to optimize things for the Nintendo Switch. I mean, No Man's Sky did an insane job and kind of proved that if you put enough time and effort into a port, it can run smoothly. The reason why I'm kind of against the Switch 2 coming out anytime soon, or a Switch Pro, is the price. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say times are getting hard and times are only going to get harder. And right now, the Nintendo Switch is one of the most accessible ways to get into gaming. And I'd really hate to see that base price increasing in the next few years. Also, personally, I don't care if a game is 60 FPS, and I really don't care if a game is 4K. I'd rather just have a solid 30 FPS, 1080p console that could run all of the indies than have anything that attempts to play in 4K. I don't care. I literally can't tell the difference between 30 and 60 FPS anyway, so why do I want to see it? The next hot take is the UI looks awful. I don't think that's a hot take. That's just a factually correct take. The fact that we can't customize our homepage beyond a dark or a light mode is a travesty. I would love to see themes come back. They were a thing on the 3DS. Why not here? I also hate the fact that it always goes from most recently played. I'd love to be able to like curate this page so it never changes, because I hate seeing games I've either finished or games I know I won't play anytime soon still showing up on this page. Also, considering how many themed switches there are now, I'd love to be able to match the theme of my homepage to all of the themed switches. On a similar vein, another hot take is the discoverability on the eShop is awful. Again, that's just factually correct. They make it so hard to discover good indie titles on the eShop. I think the big thing it's missing for me is a recommended section. A section where it takes all the games you've been playing recently and have a lot of hours in, and then recommends you other good games. Or a section that just showcases all the games your friends have the most amount of hours in. Just anything that lets you find games that are suitable for you easily on the eShop would be great. Also, why does it load so slowly? I don't understand. Here's a big one. Animal Crossing New Horizons was very disappointing. The first issue is that Animal Crossing New Horizons is a decorating game first, life sim game second. Every single other Animal Crossing game we played was a life sim. The whole mechanics of the game revolved around that. Decorating was secondary and often kind of difficult, so the whole gameplay mechanics revolved around you making friends with the villagers, having fun with daily life activities, and New Horizons just didn't focus on that. So for people like me who don't like decorating, I can definitely understand it falling short in the life sim elements. And I think the second issue was how quickly Nintendo just ditched Animal Crossing. I think it's particularly difficult to look at when you see the likes of Pocket Camp getting more updates, more items, more features that we've been asking for in New Horizons endlessly, and to just see New Horizons getting nothing. And whilst I agree that Animal Crossing New Horizons had so much more potential, I also don't want to see it become The Sims. I think they're the two extremes. Animal Crossing offered updates all for completely free, meaning that they couldn't indefinitely continue updating it. And then you have The Sims, where everything they offer is paid, so they have a reason to continue it for years. But if you then want to get into playing The Sims, yes, you can get the game for free now, but then you also have literally hundreds upon hundreds of pounds of extensions and packs that you could pick up. I don't want Nintendo to do the Sims model, but I also wish they did a little bit more with New Horizons. And I also think the issue is that the Animal Crossing player base is just so passionate. We fell in love with the game over the pandemic, and for many of us, it literally got us through the pandemic, and to see no reason to pick it up anymore is actually really, really heartbreaking. And also the fact that we probably have a 5+ year wait for the next one. That is really sad. On to the next one. More AAA games need voice acting. I entirely agree. It's probably worth bearing in mind I am dyslexic, so I'm not the biggest fan of having to read huge blocks of text to play a game. I think good voice acting can transform a game. Like, for example, Pokemon. I would love to see proper cutscenes, voice acting, so I can fall in love with the characters even more. But I also would agree that I would rather have no voice acting than bad voice acting. But it can completely transform games. I don't think the likes of Xenoblade would be anywhere near as good if the cutscenes weren't voice acted and acted out to perfection. And a lot of my favorite games do have voice acting. Okay, we've got another hot take. Game length doesn't matter. I'm torn because yes, I would much rather have a fantastic 6-hour game than a mediocre 40-hour game. But also I'm a big believer in value for money. So I'd much rather spend £50 on a 70+ hour game with replayability than pay £50 for a brilliant game, but it is only 10 hours. That's a lot of money to spend on not a lot of time playing the game. So I'm torn. I agree, but also disagree. Another hot take is that Nintendo focuses on gimmicks. Kinda, but they've done it pretty well for the most part. But the only times I've seen it as being a gimmick and not actually a feature is the Wii U and the 3DS. The Wii U, it was totally a gimmick because like I couldn't take the controller part with me to go to the toilet that was literally like 6 meters away without it disconnecting. What's the point in it being semi-portable if I can't even play it on the toilet? But saying that, I think the Wii U crawled so that the Switch could sprint. So if it wasn't for the Wii U's kind of failure, I doubt we would have had the Nintendo Switch the way we have it now. But there's no excusing the 3DS. The 3D thing was fully a gimmick and I put it on for 1 hour, hated it, felt motion sick and never had it on since. But I don't think this is a gimmick. The fact that you can play it both in handheld and as a console, I don't think is gimmicky, and I think it's a large reason as to why the Switch is so successful. I love the fact that I can take the same game I am playing on my TV into bed with me on the same console. It just makes life so easy. My only hope is if they remake this or do the Switch 2, is that they make it a tad thicker. I think they made it so thin it's actually uncomfortable to hold, and I'd rather have something that's a little bit bulkier and a bit easier to hold and a lot more powerful than to have it this portable. Now they said this in the comment and this is more a lukewarm take, but Nintendo need to discount their IPs more. Yes, they do. I really don't understand why Nintendo Switch games never come down in price, and then PlayStation and Xbox games completely decrease in price. And adding on to that, why is it that Steam will often have indie games for less than half the price of the indie games on the Switch? Like, yeah, eventually the Switch indie games do go on sale to be the same as Steam, but for most of the year, they're always more expensive on the Switch. And it always bugs me because in general, the Switch is one of the cheapest ways to get into gaming, but then it's also kind of expensive to continue to game on. This is a pretty controversial one. 3D Pokemon games are better than 2D. I think the Diamond and Pearl remakes got a lot of hate for its art style, and that's one of my favorites. The same as Pokemon Let's Go. I love that art style too. I'd pick that any day over the old school art styles. That reminds me of another hot take I said the other week, and that was everyone complaining that Pokemon games are too easy when they forget that they were literally like under the age of 10 when they played their first Pokemon game. So no wonder those were harder. You were literally a child. Oh, we've got another interesting one. Animal Crossing is not that cozy. It's low-key stressful. And the person who wrote this went on to say it's because it's a game that almost forces you to play every day. The villagers make you feel bad when you haven't been in the game for a while. You get bugs in your house if you leave the game idle for too long. And you'll come back to weeds everywhere. I think it goes further than that though, okay? One, how did Nook convince you to come to this dilapidated island and then you end up fixing it for like no pay? And two, when you go villager hunting, how did the villagers end up on that island? Like, do we leave them and abandon them for the rest of time to fend for themselves? Like, we've seen what their fishing and their bug catching skills are, okay? There's no way they're getting anything to eat anytime soon. So what happens to them? And is this actually a horror game that looks really cute? Okay, I do love the next one. Nintendo need to realize that not everything needs to be a direct. They have definitely had their fair share of non-directs. I'm mostly looking at the Mario movie ones. Like, why were they Nintendo Directs? They last for like 4 minutes, yet they make them so hype for no reason. Like, just drop a trailer like a normal movie company. Don't make a big deal about it being a Nintendo Direct. But yeah, maybe Nintendo need to chill just a little bit on what they think is Nintendo Direct worthy. Those are all the hot takes I have for you today, and feel free to comment some I missed down below. And if you want to see all the best cozy games for Christmas, click this video here. I'll see you next time. Bye.